To quote one of the great philosophers of all time, Forrest Gump, stupid is as stupid does. I give you Don Lemon from CNN. On Wednesday, Donald Trump made an announcement that is an absolute game changer. What did I tell some of you when the 2020 election was over and we knew that things were a little off and there was challenges being made? And unlike some of the other individuals in conservative media who were telling you that it was all going to work out, was all going to, I gave you a lot of cautious warning that it's probably not, and what could Donald Trump do moving forward? And one of the things that I said he should do is buy up a media conglomerate of his own. Whether it was buy a One News Network or Newsmax and really pump some money into it and get the production quality up and get a platform that way, launch his own social media platform, etc., etc., etc. Well, he's done it. The new free social media, free speech social media platform is coming in early 2022. It is going to be open and free and unrestricted. And he's not just doing kind of what they tried to do at Parler, which is launch a, quote, knockoff version of Twitter. Because what happened? Google and the other platforms, the other servers, wouldn't allow Parler to operate on their systems. Donald Trump has done the whole thing, the infrastructure, all of it. And I got a feeling he's not done yet. This is just a little taste, a little teaser of what's coming. He's about to level the playing field because right now, the lying legacy corporate corrupt mainstream media and big tech do not like the fact that you have access to all kinds of information. See, he who controls the narrative, he who controls information, controls. It's not even necessarily always about who is in the White House. It's not always about who are the decision makers. It's about who controls the spin, the narrative of that. Case in point. When Donald Trump was president, from day one, it not only was nonstop reporting on so-called Russian collusion, but it was everything he did was bad. The handling of the economy, the handling of the border, the handling of coronavirus. It was all bad. It was all negative. And it did. It drove a lot of what we would call the Reagan Democrats, the Democrats who are Democrat by tradition, by name, but when it comes to values, when it comes to wanting a job, when it comes to wanting lower taxes, there are times Republicans can dip into that vote. Donald Trump did it. Donald Trump did it with independents. And a lot of them, because of the onslaught of the media, they turned away from him. And now they realize that they've got this dementia-ridden Joe Biden in office, that he has been an absolute train wreck from day one, tanked the economy, killed the borders, social wokeness and cancel culture everywhere, and you talk about authoritarian overreach with mandates and you'll get this or you'll be fired, etc., 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 right down to parents being called domestic terrorists because during the pandemic, as they're watching their kids' Zoom classes, they began to realize what they were being taught and what they weren't being taught. And now they're informed and they're engaged. And all of a sudden, big tech and the lying legacy media and the power structure that be, they realize they made a faux pas. I said during the height of the pandemic, at some point the liberals are going to figure out with the kids being home, they're not able to indoctrinate them. With the kids being home, the parents are going to find out what's going on. And I didn't realize how prophetic I was actually being at that point, but it's turned out to be absolutely true. And parents are informed and they are engaged and they are pushing back. And then that's it. The lying legacy media has said that's it. And so you know they are giving birth to triplets right now, that a guy like Donald Trump is about to launch his own media giant. And oh baby, oh baby, oh baby, it's just getting good. The alternative media, guys like me, we get censured, we get censored, we get deplatformed, we get community strikes, we get muzzled and muted, sometimes for a few days, sometimes for a few weeks. I've been muzzled as long as a month. It happens. And Joe Rogan has been one of those guys that his program is so big and his outreach is so big, he can't be muzzled by big tech, by the lying legacy corporate corrupt mainstream media. So you know that he had Sanjay Gupta, the CNN doctor, on his program for 3 hours, and he went after him, and it was a great back and forth for 3 hours, but he really nailed him on the fact that when Joe Rogan got coronavirus, he took ivermectin. And right away, CNN, pundit after pundit over there, accused him of taking horse medicine. The CDC actually put out a tweet, "You're a human, y'all. Stop taking horse medicine." And Gupta agreed with Joe that he had taken human medication prescribed to him by his doctor, and CNN shouldn't have done what they did. Ho, ho, ho! Well, you know that made the suits mad at CNN. So then Gupta, when he got back to headquarters, had to go on with Don Lemonhead, and Don Lemonhead walked him through a scripted walk back. And you know, Don, he's so arrogant. Honestly, when he's not drunk on New Year's Eve, stoned and high, and trying to, hit on every dude at the bar while they're covering the ball drop, or getting his nipple pierced on live television. Woohoo, way to go, CNN. Way to rise to a new low. He's arrogant. He is arrogant because he's not really a newsman. He's an actor, and he reads a teleprompter every night. And that's why when he gets on, anybody that's ever on there that pushes back on him or is actually more informed than he is, which isn't all that hard, and they begin to contradict him, he's telling his producer, cut their mic. I don't know how to respond to this, so cut their mic. So he has Gupta on, and he starts walking Gupta through how to walk this back, because this was huge. This went viral, that Joe Rogan got Gupta to admit CNN lied. So as they're walking it back, in that condescending arrogance that can only be described as Don Lemonhead, he starts out, I realize that what you did with Joe Rogan was tongue-in-cheek. No, it was 3 hours. And it made Gupta pretty uncomfortable. And one time he's like, can we stop? You're just going too fast. Yeah, this is what we call information, Doc. This is what we call, when we're giving you facts and you aren't handed just, your bullet point narratives, your talking points. This is the script. This is what you go out and read every night. No, we actually engage in thought here. And sometimes as you begin to think, thoughts start, taking you to incredible places. And as you get into the discussion, it can sometimes get a tad uncomfortable. Right, Doc? So again, that was Don Lemon's way of diminishing Joe Rogan, diminishing the impact of what Joe did to CNN. And then Gupta, of course, basically said, "Oh, you guys are awesome," but he tried to a little bit defend Rogan and said, "Well, he didn't really take horse medicine." And Lemon cut him off immediately, and said, "But ivermectin is given to horses, so it's not a lie to say that." But that's not what you said. That's not what you said. You didn't say this was a drug for humans that can also be modified to be given to animals. You made it sound like Joe Rogan was doing something dangerous and consuming animal-only medication and ignoring the great Dr. Fauci and the CDC and the FDA, etc., etc., etc. And Don Lemon thought that was it. By him having Gupta on and quote-unquote correcting the record, that was it. Doesn't realize we live in the 21st century now, Donnie. And you don't think that just you having the final say is the be-all, end-all, do you? You don't really think that gets to be it, right? You understand you're going to get checked. And checked you were, and checkmate and mic drop to Joe Rogan, who took this on, and he nailed it.
Now, I do not know what the motivation for demonizing this particular medication is. Again, I'm not a doctor and I'm not a scientist, but I would imagine some of it has to do with money. The reason being is that it is a generic drug now. The patent has run out. So anybody can make it, and it's worth like 30 cents a dose. Now, Merck has its own antiviral that's supposed to do the same thing that they claim ivermectin does, as does Pfizer. They're both about to release it. I don't know if that's why the FDA is making snarky tweets about it being veterinary medicine, but I do know that it was used for humans for years before they ever started using it for animals. And I also do know that there's a massive amount of medications that have veterinary applications, including penicillin.
Well, Joe, it's like me calling Child Protective Services because my neighbor was feeding her baby cat food, and by cat food I mean milk.
Yeah,
it's insane. Like,
it's insane.
Dogs take Xanax and all these other things. So it's
wait a minute, dogs take Xanax?
Yeah,
people have like anxiety-ridden dogs.
Of course,
I guarantee it's the person.
Or cats, yeah. Well,
come over to my house. My dog just lays down.
I met Marshall. Yeah, he's a sweet. He doesn't need Xanax
because
he's a dog.
He's chill.
Yeah. But
actually, some people get rescue dogs. I should take that back because I did have a dog that had anxiety because I got her when she was 2.
Or maybe it's an older dog gets a puppy and the dog doesn't know what to do. Yeah, there's situations. Whatever.
Yeah. That could think they're that could.
But I don't think it's necessarily about the money so much. It's about obedience. Because they're the ones who are promulgating how everyone has to act. And then you have this guy from Austin over here, this comedian, telling people there was another way and the science isn't as settled. And all of a sudden, their sense of authority is diminished because when you have choices, that means that person who wants to be the one to go to no longer is the one who has all the answers.
Well, this is what is so funny about that. They don't understand that when they say things that are absolutely untrue, it diminishes their authority. They're not even aware of what they're doing. Like,
but they don't have an alternative.
When Don Lemon goes on with Sanjay Gupta and says, actually, it really is a veterinary medicine. It really is deworming horses.
This was the lie. He goes, it's not a lie to say it's also used as horse medicine. He goes,
that's not what you said.
Yeah, that's not what you said. You didn't say this drug, which also is used for horses. Of what relevance is that?
It doesn't have any relevance. Exactly what we were talking about with penicillin and with like a gigantic number of medicines that also have veterinary applications. But by doing that, you just prove my point. They don't even understand what they just did. You think no one's like it's going to end with you? See, because it used to be that way. They would say something and no one would have recourse.
Do you know what this is?
But when you're saying something and then the person you're saying it about has literally 10 times the audience you do, you dumb. Do you know what you did? You just proved my point.
Now, he brings up 2 points there regarding ivermectin, and just for disclosure purposes, I'm not a doctor, nor do I play one on television. Right now, there are studies being done. Does ivermectin make any impact on the virus? I don't know. That's not the point of why I'm saying what it is I'm saying. I'm doing this to say, hey, Joe Rogan has the right as an American and as a human being to decide what he will and won't bring into his body. And if he decides he wants to take a particular medication and his doctor is willing to write him the prescription for that, it ain't anybody else's business. And if he believes that what he took helped him, there are case studies being done right now to see if that's actually the case, if that is actually something that can be given to people. So I'm not even getting into that part of the argument. But the control issue, and he's so right on this, that if there's more than one way to handle this, then the great St. Fauci does not become the be-all, end-all. And I promise you, he does not want to let this pandemic go on any level, but at some point, he is going to be given orders from the Biden White House, who desperately need some good news. They desperately need something positive because everything else that Joe Biden touches has gone to crap. Literally. It is falling apart. It is imploding. The country is in wreck and ruin. And his so-called Build Back Better, just leave it alone and put it back the way it was, because it was working just fine. And all those people who were persuaded away from Trump, they now realize, hey, wait a minute. Because they listened to the lying media. They had a guy in the Oval Office who was competent. The economy worked. Their 401k never looked better. Their future never looked better. They were getting raises. Life was good. And gas was $1.50 a gallon. When he had mean tweets and he said crude, rude things. And I guarantee you, every one of those people right now would say what I wouldn't give for a mean tweet and $1.50 at the gas pump again. But the media barrage was negative. And then they killed him over his handling of coronavirus. You know, it doesn't matter that Fauci is a proven, unmitigated liar. His constant fallback is science is evolving, and as information changed, our response changed. How come he gets to say that, but Donald Trump doesn't? At the very beginning of the pandemic, when Donald Trump said, we'll have this thing gone by Easter, he wasn't making a declarative statement. He was making hey, we're going to roll our sleeves up and we are going to hit this thing head on and we are going to be positive and we are going to push forward. That's what a leader does. What a Joe Biden does is every time he gets bad news about the virus, he puts an extra mask on and creates more mandates. That's what a feckless wimp coward does. Lie to people, force vaccinations, force mandates, force proof. I went to see somebody at a rehab center today. And this is the first time in, oh goodness, over a year, I put the mask on. I put the hat on. I did that to get in the facility. Okay? In my everyday life, I don't wear the hat. But in this particular case, this was an individual from my church, a person I pastor. He had an organ transplant. I want him protected. I will follow the protocol so that I could go in, talk to him, pray with him. That would have been fine. But the screening I had to go through to get from the lobby to where he was, they did everything short of having me drop my pants and give me a rectal exam. And then when they asked me if I'd had love potion number 9 and I answered no, they at first weren't going to let me in. And I said, I have something better. I have a call and an ordination from God as a pastor. And the director happened to be walking by when I said that and said, let the pastor in. And I went to see the member of my church. We talked for several minutes, prayed with him, I left. But this control, this every time there's a ripple, this just Biden's response is more control, more mandate. Donald Trump's response has always been freedom. Freedom. Let people make choice. And I'm telling you, that's resonating now with the American people. They're understanding that the media influence, if they don't like you, it doesn't matter how great of a job you did, they are going to twist it as if you are Satan himself, which they did to 45. And now they've got a drooling on himself, dementia-ridden loon. And they just talk about how wonderful everything is. And people are looking around going, I'm paying $4 a gallon for gas. Half the stuff I want to buy at the grocery store is not there. The supply chain is broken. I may not be able to get my kids the things that they want for Christmas this year because they're not available. Inflation's going through the roof. And where I don't have inflation, I have stagnation. And where I don't have stagnation, I have shrinkation. Shrinkation is a little term I've come up with when they haven't raised the price on something, but the item got smaller. Have you actually looked at a candy bar lately? And I don't eat candy. I don't. But, they have the little fun size. If I were a kid, that would annoy me. Fun size? What do you mean? You got a whole Snickers bar there the size of a chiclet. That's not fun. Fun is make it big, man. Make it really big. Even a quote-unquote regular size candy bar now, come on. It's about half the size it was when you and I were kids. Have you looked at the patty on a McDonald's Big Mac lately? I think somewhere, if I because I've kept them. Every Christmas when I was a little kid, my grandmother would give me a silver dollar. It would come in a little box and it would be in my stocking. I'm pretty confident that those silver dollars are now bigger than the beef patty on a Big Mac at McDonald's. But hey, McDonald's can advertise, we didn't raise the price. The patty got smaller. By the way, in an incredible psychological move on McDonald's part, the package is still the same size. It's kind of like when you tear open a bag of chips and 2/3 of it is air. Oh, we haven't raised the price on these chips in 5 years. No, but we're getting fewer chips in the bag. We're getting a lot more air. We're buying air. So this is the economy, which is Joe Biden. This is what he's given us. And now he's telling us to lower our expectations. Man, it's like when Jimmy Carter was telling people, turn your thermostat down. We as Americans cannot expect to keep living this abundant life. Really? We had quite a bit of abundance under the Trump administration, and we were energy independent, and now we're going to start buying oil from the Russians because Joe Biden shut down all of our domestic oil projects. Do you get this? And the media, back in their glory golden days, they could set narratives and there was nobody to push back, nobody to challenge, and now there is, and they want to muzzle us, mute us, and remove us. Donald Trump said, oh no, nay, not so fast. We're going to have a platform, and this one, you won't be able to deplatform or kick off your servers because, by the way, I'm going to own those too. Oh, baby, oh, baby, oh, baby. That part of this is getting good. But Joe Rogan pushing back on that Don Lemonhead. And again, when you push out discussion, other voices, other points of view, when you are CNN and you try to discredit somebody like Joe Rogan who's got 10 times the audience you do, you try to discredit him and just shred him and it blows up on you, all you do is reinforce the message that you are fake, here's fake news, fake. You reinforce that, and you reinforce you're not really interested in giving us information. You have a narrative. You want control. And people obey. And again, you got some of these big pharma, which, by the way, fund all of the cable news you watch, even on faux pas news, formerly known as Fox News. They fund it. They pay for it. They pay for the Hannity show. Don't oppose little Sean as a great conservative bastion. I like Sean, nice guy. I think for the most part, he's what I call conservative talk light. He's really never going to say anything that gets him in trouble to jeopardize his big payday. That's for certain. But at the end of the day, Big Pharma pays the bills. So you better believe they're going to discredit and, ivermectin. Do the Big Pharma have their own version of this rolling out that'll be the supplement to the love potion number 9? I'm sure they do. So it is about money, but it is about control. And it's certainly about controlling the narrative. Again, we're not even allowed to have a discussion on here between two scientists. Do masks work or don't they work? Is the vaccine, is it ready? Are there things that we ought to be? You can't have any of that. And the more they muzzle that, the more they stop that, the more they reinforce the conspiracies, and the more they force people to go and get their information elsewhere. And if Don Lemonhead thinks his audience is small now, after this, it'll be non-existent. Way to go, Joe. Hey, that's it for this rant. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel, smack the bell, click the word all to get notification of my next rant.